All right. So once again, my name is Mike from ClearAdmit. ClearAdmit is an applicant resource website as well as community for MBA applicants, master's applicants, all things graduate business school. So if you're unfamiliar with ClearAdmit, come check us out after today's session. You'll receive some news and information from us via email, as well as watching the video recording, which this is being recorded, as you just heard. So sit back, relax, enjoy today's session, and you'll get a lot of really great news from four top business schools that I will introduce right now. That's just a picture of me. There you go. Okay, so first up, we will introduce Chelsea Hann from Cornell Business School, and she's the Director of Admissions and Scholarship.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, Chelsea Hann, I'm Director of Admissions and Scholarship here at Cornell Johnson. Happy to be here with all of you today and provide some insight into studying here in the Northeast. I shout out to Bethlehem, also lived there for a short period of time before my transition here to Ithaca. I've been here now 10 years, but fun fact, Mike and I actually lived there at the same time and worked together prior to me coming here to Ithaca 10 years ago. So again, happy to be here online with all of you today and looking forward to answering some questions in the breakout later this afternoon.
There you go. Fun times. We both ended up where we're at today from that last stop in Bethlehem together. So that's actually pretty funny. And how long that we've been at these. I don't even want to go through it, but I think it's like 8 years, 9 years. Awesome stuff and awesome to see you on a panel here today, which is great. Next up, we have Vi Schierholtz from Harvard Business School, a senior director of marketing and on the MBA admissions board.
Hey everybody, thanks Mike for putting this together. Excited to be here as well. My name is Vi. I actually graduated from HBS as a student in 2019, so I'm happy to share reflections from that experience. Afterwards, I worked in investment banking and then in defense tech for a little bit before coming back to HBS as a staff member, where I work on marketing and some other pieces of the alumni puzzle. But excited to be here and excited to talk about what makes the Northeast region so special for business school.
Awesome. Thanks, Vi. And we're excited that you're here joining us as well. Next up, we have Melissa Bucken, a Senior Associate Director of Admissions at MIT Sloan.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. Hi, Mike. So my name is Melissa Bucken. I'm Senior Associate Director at MIT Sloan. I've been at Sloan for about 10 years, so I'm excited to talk to you all in the breakout room. In Sloan, I oversee all of the events that we do in the admissions office. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm from the Northeast. I've been here my whole life, so happy to talk about that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, it's nice when you can connect from the personal and professional side of being in the region we're talking about. Thank you so much for being here. And last but not least, just because of the alphabet, I'm sorry, Michael, this happens to all of our guests from Yale. You're always last when we do the intros, but we're hopefully saving the best for last today. Michael Myers, Director of Admissions, Strategic Priorities, and Community Engagement at Yale SOM.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. There's this thing where I call myself Michael, so calling you Mike keeps tripping me up. So this is good. But my name is Michael. It's awesome to be here with you folks. I've been at the School of Management for roughly 4 years. I've had a couple of different capacities. Happy to talk about any of those things. But right now I manage a part of our recruitment process, yield process, and evaluation process, focusing on strategic priorities and just how we engage you all and connect you with the community. And so I'm excited to chat more about that. And I think a fun fact for me is that I'm a New Haven native, so also homegrown New England boy. And I'm excited to share more on those insights. Thank you.
I love that. We can have some pizza discussions between New York and New Haven, and there's a lot of different, yeah, a lot of underrated thing about New Haven that people don't realize is there's a lot of great pizza places up there. So good stuff. So thanks for all of you for doing some intros. I'm putting a quick note in the chat just to remind folks that this is being recorded for today's session, so you will get those videos at the conclusion of the session. Additionally, questions will be saved for the Q&A portion of the event, which will be in breakouts. So each school will we're actually thankful that they're going to hang around after the panel is over to conduct some Q&As within their breakout space. So hold all questions, hang out, enjoy today's session, and we're going to cover a lot of really awesome stuff about four top business schools. So with that, we'll jump into our first question, which is something that we'll have all four panelists touch on. And the theme for this week, right, it's how does the region connect to the business schools that are located there? So what we want to have each of you kind of respond to is just when you think about the Northeast, there's things like global financial centers, there's top consulting firms, some of the nation's oldest and most prestigious universities, including some on this panel today. And not to mention New England's scenic charm between like Cape Cod and just some of the other like really awesome coastal cities, the vibrant city life from Boston to New York and all up and down the Northeast corridor there on 95. Lots of Northeast attributes we can go all day about. But in your opinion, what makes studying in the Northeast so great? And then on the flip side, if I attend school in the Northeast, do I end up being stuck there? Not that it's a horrible spot to get stuck at, right? But can I go to a school in the Northeast, experience all of the great things, and then leave and go somewhere else for my post MBA career? So we'll go back to Chelsea if you want to kick this question off and give your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm happy to start. I mentioned I've been in Ithaca now for just under 10 years. So I'm originally from the Northeast, well, Pennsylvania area, and have been here for quite some time. So I have lots of things to talk about related to upstate New York and the Finger Lakes region. But I think there's lots of great things that come with studying in the Northeast, one of which I would say is related to the timeline of your program and in terms of seasons that happen throughout the year. I think one of the great things about being in the Northeast, and I'm speaking specifically to upstate New York though, is the opportunities to do things all year round. And I think the community here in this region really does rally around whatever season we're in. So there's lots of really great festivals downtown for each season of the year. We have an Apples Fest and a Harvest Fest in the fall. There's a winter ice festival and a chili fest in the winter. And then we have some really great things that happen in the spring, a farmer's market. Lots of lakes here in the upstate New York region, which makes the spring and the summer a lot of fun. Wineries are great to sit at all year round. So for me, I think extracurricularly, when you're not in the classroom or recruiting, there's lots of really great things that you can do to spend your free time when you're studying in the Northeast. And then on the flip side, when you're thinking about recruitment, I would think of it more so as industry-wise, where you hope to end up when you are recruiting for a specific thing post MBA. So if you're thinking about finance or investment banking, understanding that a lot of those placements, regardless of where you choose to study, are going to end you up in New York or on Wall Street. And then thinking about maybe industry specific sectors. So like oil and gas, as an example, lots of our students that are recruiting for oil and gas specific things end up in Houston or in the Texas area. And if you want to recruit to tech, that might land you on the West Coast. And that's certainly an option and a pathway for students out of MBA programs, even here in the Northeast. So I would encourage you to think more about what it is that you're recruiting for and what you're looking to do after you graduate, separate from the type of experience you're hoping to have for MBA study, because those things could be very different depending on where it is that you're choosing to do your MBA.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great summary, honestly. And all those festivals gets me excited because it is kind of like the trees are turning by me. I'm in New Jersey, so
Yeah.
kind of between Mid-Atlantic, Northeast here right now. But yeah, it's that time of the year for all those festivals to really kick off. So sounds like some fun. Vi, what about you? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, just on the professional thread, I totally agree with Chelsea. I think the question is like, will I be regionally locked? That is not really how I think recruiting just works in general, especially with the schools here on the panel today. All of our schools have quite a broad reach. And so if you're thinking about whether it's New York, the West Coast, international, I think all of our schools will deliver from a career perspective on that front. I actually interned at Nike when I was at HBS, Portland, Oregon. And then I recruited into investment banking in San Francisco after. So just a quick anecdote on the regional piece. It really is. So I think any of these top business schools can recruit all over the place. In terms of what makes the Northeast so special, I guess I'm the only one on the panel from California, and I think Boston is my favorite city in the United States. From a professional standpoint, like it is a great place. And I think we're going to talk more about just what the ecosystem looks like. But just from a personal standpoint, the city is very dynamic and vibrant in terms of just there's so many different universities, there's so many different things to do on whether it's recruiting or whether it's just in your own time. We spend a lot of time going up to Vermont and New Hampshire on the weekends. So whatever your interests are, you'll be able to find groups at your respective school in the Northeast to explore some of what the region has to offer. It is a very charming place, whether it's Ithaca or Boston or New Haven. They're all great places.
Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned Boston too. I mean, just the country's history is short. Right. The country's history is short, but, and we're talking to people from international locations like, where there's a lot more history. But for the US, where history is shorter, Boston has a lot of it. Boston has, some of the longest history. So there's a lot of fun things to go do and look at there when you're there. So, yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Vi, for that. Melissa, your thoughts on this? What makes it so great? And then are you kind of stuck? And is that a bad thing if you are?
Yeah, so I totally agree with what Vi and Chelsea have said. So, in terms of studying in the Northeast, I would agree. The Four Seasons is definitely one of my favorite aspects. I think you get a little bit of everything, and I think students love that as well. You come and it's warm, and then it gets a little cold, but then it's really nice again and gets warm, and it reminds you why you enjoy living in the Northeast. So, I would definitely say the Four Seasons. I would also add, Boston really is the hub for education. So, that's another for Vi and us, for me and Vi, that's another aspect that I would say but for studying on the Northeast. But again, it's very close to get to New York and DC, so it's a good spot to be. And certainly, just because you're studying in Boston does not mean you stay there. So, like Chelsea said, many students will end up on the West Coast depending on what they're interested in. So it totally depends. But again, just because you're studying in the Northeast does not keep you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for those thoughts also. And Michael, your greatest fear has come true. You're last, and you have the same question here. So, what can you add? What's some new things, maybe the perspective of Connecticut, that you can add in here?
There you go. So yeah, I'm not even going to talk about being landlocked because I think my colleagues have definitely covered that. Global presence, all of these programs, you can really choose where you want to be after you spend your time at the schools. And so what I'm going to talk about is really the ability to choose what lifestyle you want over the 2 years that you're in your program. And I would say that it's not uncommon. So, New Haven, Connecticut is located almost smack dab in between Boston and New York. So, it's not uncommon for you to spend time throughout a month in both of those major cities, right? And so, I think that there's that piece. The other piece is all of these areas, I think up and down the Northeast, are going to give you different cultures, exposure to lifestyle vibes. In Connecticut alone, right? You can have a major city feel in terms of where you decide to live and call home while you're doing your business school program, or you can live in the houses, right? And in the neighborhoods that New England is known for. And so I think being able to choose the lifestyle that you want and the variety in which you could choose based off of all of the schools is really a big value proposition because while you'll be recruiting and in the classroom a lot, you'll also be living hopefully a really vibrant life outside of that as well. A lot of the culture is going to be dictated on where your school is located in terms of the different programs. And so I think that's a really hidden value proposition there. And as someone who studied in New England, I quickly left Connecticut to New York and then Boston and then came back, right? And so there's a lot of variability. And so within a day, you could explore a lot of the different states up here. And as you all recruit and think about that, I invite you to do so. It's a really beautiful thing.
Appreciate that. All great thoughts on this topic, and so thanks to the four of you for taking us through your thoughts on this question. So, with that, we want to dive a little deeper into each of your programs and kind of like taking it a step further, right? So we heard kind of generally what the Northeast has to offer to folks either just kind of living in the area or attending business school in the area. But what is it about your school and what is it about your campus that really connects to that greater region? So in this portion of the event, we're going to go school by school and we'll go back to start off with Cornell. So Chelsea, you'll be on deck here, but we want you to focus on an aspect or a few things about your MBA program that ties into that regional location of the Northeast. And this could be, the examples could include experiential learning opportunities that have ties to regional companies. It could be clubs and organizations that allow you to kind of experience the environment that you're in. It could just be really anything that kind of connects your campus, your program to the region that you're based in. So let's hear it from you. Cornell Johnson, Ithaca, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's lots of opportunities actually that do connect Johnson MBAs to the local Finger Lakes, really larger Ithaca region. One of the things, though, I won't go into all of them, but one that really stands out for me, because I think it has some breadth to it, is Big Red Micro Enterprise, which is an organization here on campus for our MBA students, and it allows them to connect with local entrepreneurs and small businesses or nonprofits to provide really a variety of different consulting services. They might do things like pricing strategy or operations efficiency. They might do branding and marketing strategies for the local nonprofits or the small businesses. But what I really like about it is that the impacts they're having on these community organizations are really tangible, and they're able to see the impact of the services that they're providing. I think it's a great organization for our students who are aspiring entrepreneurs and are looking to start their own businesses. I think there's learning opportunities for our aspiring consultants and our students that are recruiting for consulting, and then also for sustainability focused students, or really even students that are looking to potentially be venture capitalists at some point in their professional careers. I think there's a lot of really great skills that come with being part of the Big Red Micro Enterprise. And I also like that it connects you with other students in the program that might be recruiting for a number of different things, because it is such a good mix of opportunities in working with the different nonprofits, and the services that we provide are so broad and so diverse. So that's a personal favorite of mine, is Big Red Micro Enterprise. And if you Google it and take a look at it on the website, you'll see some of the more recent companies and nonprofits that our students have worked with.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds like a pretty cool and unique opportunity. So I appreciate you sharing that. What we also do in this section, and I didn't mention this right before we started, but we like to follow up with a quick admissions tip type of question. So for you, we looked through your application process, and this will be the same for each school. And we just wanted to pick something that we tend to hear applicants on our site asking about, so you can help to kind of like give some extra advice or myth bust a bit or things like that. So with your one of your essay prompts, where it's like a fill in the blank situation, you have to put in a role, a company, and some industry short answers. Also, your goal statement that requires applicants to be very specific about their post MBA objectives. How can you advise applicants to approach this if they don't have an exact clarity on what they want to do?
Yeah, so our goal statement, essentially, to Mike's point, it is fill in the blank, and we ask applicants to be very specific about their intended role, company, and industry that they're looking to work in immediately after business school, and then longer term, 5 or 10 years down the road. And that's purposeful. That's because we want to make sure that we're a program that can provide our students with the right resources to help support them in the transition into whatever it is that they're looking to do. We've also learned that recruiting can start very early in MBA programs, and there's not as much time as maybe there was 10 or 15 years ago to be really flexible or cavalier and explore in the different industries. So we really want applicants to do as much research and due diligence as they can prior to enrolling in an MBA program. And we almost want to push applicants to do that as they complete their application for admission, to have a pretty good idea. It doesn't have to be something that they're specifically really married to, but a good idea of what it is that you're going to intend to recruit for, so that we can have very specific conversations about where did that specific aspiration come from? Why does that make sense for you? How does your background connect to what it is that you're looking to do? And what resources are available to you here at Johnson that you can take advantage of to help support you in your career transition? So again, it doesn't need to be something that candidates have to be married to, but we do want them to have a pretty good idea when they're applying to business school, and have done a little bit of that research prior to hitting submit on their application.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you touched on exactly the point we were looking for, which is, if you put something down there, do they read that at graduation? And maybe you can say how many times in May that this happened, but at graduation, they read off that person's essay. And if they weren't in that role, did they not give them their diploma? Like, is that how that works? Or they're okay to change their mind?
Yeah, absolutely not. And students change their mind all the time, and that's part of going to business school. And I think that's okay. But again, we want to know who you are and what your aspirations are at the time of your application submission and your admissions decision. So it's just meant to have a more intentional conversation surrounding your post MBA plans.
Yeah, that's perfect. No, we like that, and we always try our best to answer just like we did. Right? We're trying to like, yeah, you can change your mind, guys. Like it's fine. It's gonna happen. You want it to happen. I mean, it's a transformative time. You're there for a long time. Even though it feels like it's gonna go by quick, 2 years. I mean, you'll do a lot in those 2 years. I'm sure you'll change your mind, a dozen times. So, thank you for that and for providing your examples there. Now we will go towards the shore a bit more and talk to Vi over at Harvard Business School. Same thing. Can you name a couple things about your program that connects to the greater region? I guess in this case, more Boston, Massachusetts,
Sure.
New England, Northeast, all the above.
Sure, I'll tackle this from a career perspective. Mike, you talked a bit at the beginning of just it's a financial center, a lot of top consulting firms. So I think, you know, we have a lot of students who stay local and go to those firms, whether it's private equity, whatever professional services, banking, consulting. But I think we have a lot of momentum right now in terms of our entrepreneurship ecosystem, especially in Boston, just a huge entrepreneurial hub, not only in biotech, but across tough tech and other areas of entrepreneurship. So I think about it like a concentric circles model. So from a student perspective, just from a curriculum perspective, you'll be taking entrepreneurship courses at HBS. Your second year, you can take a course called Tough Tech Ventures, which I think is really fascinating, and it focuses a lot on the tech inside the Boston area. We also have an MS MBA now, which is focused either on engineering sciences or biotech. That runs in parallel with our MBA program. So it's just a 2 years, you get 2 degrees. And the purpose of those two programs is to really help you build a company, whether it's broad engineering or broad product development or something in the biotech sphere. And we've had a lot of success over the past 5 years of those programs being in existence. The second piece is just the broader HBS ecosystem. We have the Rock Center for Entrepreneurship. One really unique part of that program is that we pay students a stipend to work on an entrepreneurial idea over the summer as their internship. And we have HBS alums who've built companies who give their time for free back to students to mentor them along that summer and throughout their experience as a student. And then the third piece is just the Harvard ecosystem. We have the Harvard iLab, which is the innovation center for all of Harvard, but it sits on the HBS campus. And that's where students from HBS, students from Harvard Medical School, Harvard undergrad, and even other schools in the Boston region come together to create companies, to think about new ideas. And I'd say the gel that combines all this is just the network effects of the broader ecosystem. So not only do you have this momentum of entrepreneurship, but your VC investors are in Boston, or still we have many on the West Coast who have ties back to Boston, ties back to HBS. Big private equity hub, so growth equity, private equity. So as your company grows, there will be plenty of opportunities for capital. And then just from like a faculty perspective, they're always helpful with our students. And then your classmates are going to be some of your most trusted people on the other side of the table when you're in a business context a few years out. So that ecosystem really comes together 5, 10 years down the road. And so whatever career path you're thinking of, you'll probably have a piece to play in the entrepreneurship journey of either yourself or students along the way. So Boston's a great place for it. And I think all the schools here have those ties to the region that will help create those network effects for whatever you want to work on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think what you also touched on here is kind of that larger university that's involved, right? So we talk about the business schools and the programs that are offered there, but there's also the ability to kind of work outside of the business program when you're back at a school. And some of those entrepreneurship, networking, partnerships, and opportunities can come from outside the school, right? You may have an idea of something you want to run a business on, but building that product may come from one of those engineering students that can help you out. So
Exactly.
yeah, really great stuff. So your admissions tips question, and it is interview season, so we were cautious of making sure this fits this time of the year here. But at Harvard, there's something called the post-interview reflection. That's a pretty unique process, and for those who don't know what that is you do your interview like at many other MBA programs, but then after the interview is over, you have to then provide this reflection on kind of like what your thoughts were on the whole process. So how does that really work? What are you looking for in that process? How is it used? If you could just shed any light on what you're looking at there, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, to set the context, we model our interview process after the learning model in the classroom. So HBS, we use the case method for all of our learning. We do have experiential learning programs, but by and large, most of your classroom experience will be through the case method. So you're reading a business case, 10 to 15 pages, and you come to class ready to discuss that case. And you're evaluated on your participation and the quality of your contributions to the class. But for the case method preparation, you need to read the case. So that's like the prior preparation. Then you do the case in the classroom, and then you reflect on the case afterwards. So in terms of the interview process or the application process, we think of the same way. The application is like the preparation, the interview is like the kind of like the case method, and then third piece is the reflection. And so the post-interview reflection is the last piece of our interview process. We give you a prompt, and you have 24 hours to write a response to that prompt. It's about 300 words. It's meant to be, it's almost like you're writing an email to a colleague. So professional, but not so overly polished like an MBA essay. In fact, we highly discourage people pre-writing this because it's supposed to be reflections based on what occurred during the interview. And the prompt will help you get there. But the idea here is that it gives you the last word in the process and gives you a chance to reflect on the experience. That piece of the process goes back into your file and then is evaluated as one final package of your candidacy. So it is an important step, but it shouldn't be pre-written. It really should just be reflections on the process.
Yeah, it's really helpful. And the context of how that portion of the process was created is awesome. I mean, that makes perfect sense. Kind of connected directly to the classroom experience, the case method, another popular Harvard item there. So
Yep.
thanks, Vi, for that. And now we'll travel down the block, I'll say, right? I mean, not too far here. We're talking like, is it
Right.
even a mile?
Maybe a mile.
Maybe a mile, right?
Maybe. It's
So
really close.
yeah, it's very, it's almost walkable. A nice day like today, it might be walkable.
Definitely.
So Melissa, same type of thing. Let's hear how MIT connects to the region.
Yeah, sure. So there's definitely a lot of different ways that MIT is involved in, Boston, Massachusetts, the whole region. But one thing that, comes to my mind is we have something at Sloan called Action Learning Labs. And Action Learning Labs are a teaching method where students take what they learn in the classroom and they put it to practice to solve real life challenges. Students will work with companies who sponsor our students to help them solve a problem that they have that's going on in their project or their company. Action Learning Labs are really very mind in hand, which is the mission of the Sloan School. And our projects are they range from industry, region, and topic. So some of our labs do work with different places in the city of Boston. So one, for example, is Healthcare Lab or H Lab. And Boston has some of the best hospitals in the world. And so for H Lab, our students work with the admins and the doctors in the hospitals. So an example is our students have been working at Boston Medical Center for many years, since 2016, and they're really focused on streamlining different transportation processes in units. So that's a really cool one, something that happens each year. Some other projects for Sustainability Lab or S Lab. Some projects have worked for the city of Boston and they've worked with the Red Sox. There's many others. I think there's been a few working with like the MBTA, which is the train station in Boston. So it's really a great way for our students to work with the community and faculty members as well.
That's a great little way to connect and also get some, work on some local projects, which is really cool. Your question that we have here is more about the wording of how the question is asked, right? So you have a video requirement within your essay that asks applicants to introduce themselves to their future classmates. And we want to hone in on that portion of the request because you didn't ask them to introduce themselves to the admissions committee. So what is that approach? And then what are you really looking for with that video?
Yeah, great question. Definitely one of the questions we get all the time. So we definitely ask for a 60-second video, again, introducing yourself to your future classmates. One of the questions is, will we share it with the actual future classmates? The answer is no, only the admissions committee will see it. But in this video, we really are looking to see your personality. We're really looking to see, how you communicate, and we really are looking to see something that is not on your resume. So it is a 60-second piece where you can say something about what you like to do, anything that is important to you. But remember, it's not necessarily professional. You've already shared all of the professional information with us, so it really is a chance for you to share something different with us. It's almost like an elevator pitch. Like, what would you say to, your future classmates? And why future classmates is we really want to see like how they would fit in within the classroom. We want to see what they would say if they were really introducing themselves to their future classmates. And it really is a great space to show a little bit about yourself. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. You don't need a production crew. It could just be, you talking to your screen. But it's one of my favorite parts of the application, and it's a really great place to be creative.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the reason behind it, right? And I think the reason you don't want them to introduce themselves to the committee is because you would waste maybe 45, 50 seconds saying, please let me in, please let me, right? But we're not doing that. We're introducing ourselves to our classmates like it's the first day of orientation, right? And let's learn a little bit more about you. And bringing that human element back into the application is fantastic. So in this world of AI, right? Like this is just a simple 60-second video. Just who are you and what are you about? So we know who's walking in to campus day one. So that's a really great piece of the application. And thank you for shedding some light on it. And now we'll head a little further back southwest. Am I doing that right? Yes. Over to New Haven at Yale. Michael, can you take us through the connections from Yale to New Haven and Greater Connecticut and their greater region?
Awesome. Thank you. So I think it's probably best to position this based off of what our goal is. And so, at the School of Management, we are interested in teaching and training people who want to learn business concepts, right, and how they impact society. So leaders for business and society. And so I'll say that, that is probably the through line that we see in our student body. And that's irrespective of what industry they plan to go into, right? And so students are learning a traditional MBA curriculum. We teach it in a way that we believe is unique, of course, but it's always taught with this idea of if you're going to make this bottom line business decision, wherever you are after school, you're going to be the one who can understand how that decision may impact broader society. And so within that, I think one of the things that are cited the most in the students who ultimately choose the School of Management is our nonprofit board fellows program, which is how we really can integrate into the broader New Haven area and lots of smaller organizations across Southern Connecticut. And so what this opportunity is for MBA students to sit as non-voting and or junior board members across Connecticut and assist these organizations to make the decisions from the business perspectives that they have and that they're gaining. And the hope is that they would leave and graduate, right, with real nonprofit board experience at base, but also be able to understand sort of this integration of how businesses can work together with nonprofit orgs to fulfill whatever the mission is in impacting society. And so I think that that's one of the biggest things that I see with our students who ultimately choose this program, and that's irrespective of where they choose to go post MBA. And so I see lots of people going into quote unquote traditional careers that are all about nonprofit board fellows and pro bono consulting and all of those things that I think really is one of the beautiful ways that we're able to sort of integrate this into the New Haven community. And then the other piece here is going to be sort of that interconnectedness. And so I love the fact that Yale is rich in resources. And I think a lot of times, our students come here and they are sort of surprised at all of these frameworks and things that have been happening around them that they're learning about for the first time when they start their MBA program, like venture capital, entrepreneurship, so on and so forth. And my friend Vi at Harvard mentioned a little bit about this. And so one of the things that I love to see our students engaging in is case competitions and conferences. So those tend to be really huge at Yale because our students are really interested in sharing the resources that they have access to with the broader New Haven community. And so you'll see throughout the year, our students are bringing together pretty high level industry leaders from across the university and across industry and putting on conferences that are accessible to the world outside of our walls. And I think that that's one of the other sides of this sort of experience that I think is actually really amazing and unique to our students. And so I'll stop there and pass it back to Mike.
No, that's all great stuff. I mean, I think giving the students exposure and experience with nonprofits, after they're learning all these big subject matter type things in business school, and you have to now apply that to a nonprofit business. It's a very different way of thinking, but it can actually help on both sides, right? Because if you can take, marketing strategies that work for a nonprofit, low budget type stuff sometimes, and just difficult sometimes to then put that at scale when you have a budget behind you. It's like there's a lot of things you can take from those experiences. So that's really cool for those students. For your admissions question that we have. It's about the short answer question that you have in your application about career goals, which reads, briefly describe your career interests and how you have arrived at them. What have you already done to pursue these interests, and what do you need to do going forward? So, what I ask you, Michael, is do you have any advice on how to tackle that in only 200 words? And how specific should the applicant be when writing their response on how they would do those things at Yale, right? So, you're asking them, what do they need to do to continue towards those interests? Do they have to connect those dots to your program at all?
It's a great question, Mike, and um, it's probably not so surprisingly. 200 words is definitely a choice and an intentional choice, right? Because, like our friends at Cornell Johnson said, we don't expect you to have it all figured out, right? And so that's what the limit is there for, is so that you don't feel like you have it all figured out, right? And that you have to articulate it because there's not enough space to really articulate what it is that you plan to do for your career, right? And so, really, what the invitation is to sort of go back, right? And think about what are the foundations of the goals that you've discovered for yourself and your career, and share that, right? We're looking to understand sort of what was the exposure that sort of tipped you towards this direction so that we can better understand that foundation. And then it's an invitation to sort of think in the future context, right? And so, you've thought about how you've arrived at these goals and perhaps what have you been exploring either professionally or conversations that you've had with people in different industries. And now we want to understand within this same sort of 200 word essay, what are you going to do moving forward? And so that is, I think, the piece that speaks to the other part of your question, Micah, on whether or not we're asking you to tell us what at Yale is going to get me there. And the truth of the matter is that we aren't actually asking why Yale or what at Yale is going to get you there, right? There's not enough space, I think, to do that justice. But if there is a course or if there is something going on at Yale that you think is going to put you squarely in the space for you to pursue that goal, you're more than welcome, right, to include that. But I would always say, and my rule of thumb to applicants is to utilize the least of your real estate, trying to convince us why Yale, in any manner, and particularly in this prompt, because a lot of times, that can be sort of our inclination as applicants, right, to want to share how Yale is going to get me here when we're truly evaluating and interested in how you've arrived to this goal. What have you done since arriving to this goal to sort of set you up to pursue it? And what you'll do throughout your business school journey so that you can sort of land that goal and ultimately achieve it. And so the invitation is there for you to include some things that are Yale specific, but it is also not a requirement. And as far as how do you do that in 200 words, I think it's a couple of different drafts, right? I think you start off with like truly doing the reflection and thinking about why it's time for you to go to business school. And then as you go through the application process, you refine it so that the 200 words that you have displayed there are a cohesive story for the admissions officer to digest and understand and appropriately ascribe, a rating or evaluation to.
And then I asked Chelsea this question, but they don't stand there with that essay at graduation, right? Like that's not happening anywhere.
No, it's not happening anywhere, most certainly not at Yale. You will
All
be
right.
exposed to so many things post MD. I mean, once you start your journey here, it's so expected. So no, we won't stand there with it.
One day, one day. Awesome. So thanks to all four of you for taking us through each of these connections that your campuses have to the region. It's super helpful. It's just different. Again, from the beginning of the session, we were talking about how it could provide a different perspective on how to really research programs and talk about what those outcomes are, but also just the experience while you're there. So those are all really awesome examples to hear about. Next, we want to learn a little bit more about you all, though. So what we've noticed doing this event series is that a lot of applications these days are asking more about the human element, right? And we touched on that a bit with the question we asked of Melissa about their video introduction, right? It's like, who are you as a human, not just your test scores and your resume and what you wrote in your essays, but like, let's meet you. So this lightning round is meeting the four of you. So we're gonna humanize the four of you for a moment. So we'll go one by one again, and we'll have you just answer all three at the same time, so that way we can kind of move through. And then folks that are attending the session today, we're gonna get to breakouts right after this. So we're a few minutes away here. Hang tight, and we'll get all of your questions answered in the breakouts. So first up, Chelsea, what is something that you specifically liked about living in the Northeast?
Yeah, I like a lot of things about living in the Northeast, but the one thing that I think stands out for me is that I am a food person and I like to eat seasonally. And I find that that's much easier to do living in the Northeast. There's a lot of farmland here in upstate New York. And like I love soup season in the fall and the winter when it starts to get cooler, and crock pot season. And I think that would be really, really difficult if it was like 90 degrees outside and I was trying to like make a soup or a chili or something in my crock pot. So for me, it's definitely the food that changes with the seasons and being able to eat seasonally. I love a good like berry salad in the summer with a nice vinaigrette. So that's what stands out for me.
Okay, I immediately regret asking that question at lunchtime because now I'm hungry. And we actually have a crock pot soup upstairs right now, waiting for
Oh,
me to eat. So there you go. You
delicious.
mentioned all the things, and now I'm hungry. Okay, what is your favorite spot on campus?
Yeah, so I know, I know I just said I like to eat seasonally, but to me, it's never too cold to eat ice cream. And my favorite spot on campus is the Cornell Dairy Bar, which is our year-round ice cream. It's homemade here from the milk from our Cornell cows here on campus. All great flavors, lots of them change based on recommendations and surveys from our students. So it's always fun to go and try whatever the new flavor is that was recommended by our students. So if you ever find yourself at Cornell, even if you're not visiting the dairy or the business school, make a stop at the Cornell Dairy Bar.
All right, I'll have to do that next time I'm there. And to finish our food-related questions, which you have now made this into, do you prefer bagels or lobster roll? This is a silly portion. This last question is silly on purpose. So just, what do you prefer out of these two options, if you had to pick?
Yeah, I would pick a bagel. I feel like I've never had a bagel that I didn't love. And I know it's not actually here as an option, but I feel the same way about pizza. Even like bad pizza in upstate New York is better than most pizza that I've had in other places in the country. So from the list here, I would choose a bagel, but I would also just add my own third option here of pizza.
That is fair. We had third options in our last two events as well. So we will take
Okay.
pizza now. Okay, so what is your favorite style pizza though, if you're gonna pick pizza?
Yeah, it's like a New York pizzeria style
Okay.
pizza. Like I'm not a New Haven style is good too. I will say I've had that and I like the like thinner, crispier crust, but I'm not a big like Midwest deep dish pizza person. I like a New York like big pizzeria style pizza.
All right. That sounds good. Vi, we'll go to you now. What is something that you love about living in the Northeast? Now, you did mention you're originally a West Coaster, so I don't know. I don't know how we compare weather-wise, but we'll see.
Well, I'm from the Bay Area, so there are seasons there. It's not LA,
Okay.
so it's not as cold, or like the fall is not as nice as compared to Boston. And so the Northeast, the weather I actually don't mind. What I like the most though is just there's so many activities to do outside. So I do a lot of mountain biking, I do a lot of hiking. I have a 12-week-old newborn at home, and so being able to walk on the ocean or go for like the Charles River is just the most beautiful part of Boston. Doing things like that on the East Coast is great. And then in the broader East Coast region, Chelsea mentioned the Finger Lakes. Arcadia National Park in Maine is a favorite of HBS students to go to on long weekends. So I like all the outdoor options. My favorite spot on campus, if I can jump to the next one,
Yeah.
it's changed a little bit over time. When I was a student, I loved like my I guess value add to our section experience as the athletic officer, and so I led all of our different teams that play against other sections. So a softball team and a basketball team. So I spent a lot of time making friends, doing athletic things. Now as a staff, I really enjoy Clarman Hall, which is our main auditorium on campus. It's where we welcome our students during admitted students welcome and when they get to campus in the fall. And so that excitement is really one of a kind. So I love that piece. If there was a dairy bar, that would I can't believe Cornell has that. So I would love to visit Cornell just for the dairy bar.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then bagel or lobster roll. I'm not a big bagel. I don't understand the hype. No offense, Chelsea. But lobster rolls are very, very pricey. So it just depends on probably how I'm feeling about my household budgeting. But I'll go with lobster roll for this question.
Okay, and then lobster roll, there's a couple different like cold or warm. I know that's like controversial sometimes, but
I'll go with warm lobster rolls.
warm lobster roll. Okay, because I know there's the two options, so we'll get specific here. Awesome. No, and all the outdoors activities. I mean, yeah, between you mentioned all the different areas. There's so many things you could do outside. So really good stuff there. Melissa, how about your thoughts? What do you love about living in the Northeast?
Yeah, I love that you can drive to the mountains and to the ocean like in the same day if you wanted to. My favorite spot is down the Cape, Cape Cod. I spend a lot of time there and I also love going to Maine. So I love to be able to go to the coast. I would say I'm a beach person, although I don't like sitting on the beach. I just like seeing the ocean, but that is my favorite part about like living on the Northeast.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fair. I also don't enjoy the beach, but I do enjoy like riding a bike on the
exactly.
boardwalk or something. So
Yeah.
I can level with that. Yeah, favorite spot on campus.
So my favorite spot on campus, so all of the buildings at MIT are numbered. So Sloan has a few buildings. And in E62, there's the Sloan Cafe, which I love to just hang out at. It's very sunny and bright, and there's always so many students, and it's just a great place to gather. Not on Sloan's campus, but on main MIT's campus, there's a banana lounge. So you can go and just get free bananas. So that's also a very fun one.
Well,
Again, not dairy, but bananas.
yeah,
So
and no cramping allowed on campus then because there's plenty
exactly.
of bananas and potassium. Okay, so that's awesome. And then bagel or lobster roll for you.
So I've thought way too hard about this. And I think ultimately a bagel, because lobster rolls are very seasonal, and a bagel is like all year round.
That's fair. And what kind of bagel?
I just like a plain bagel with cream cheese, like very basic.
Okay, toasted.
Toasted, yeah.
There you go. Okay, very good. I
Yep.
nothing plain about it. You got the toasted at least. There
And
you
you're
go. A little
right.
crunch.
You're
That'll
right.
count. Awesome stuff. And then Michael, your thoughts here, something you love about the Northeast.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just repeating the last two folks, but the outdoors is truly the gift. And I mean all year long. I've recently gotten into running about a year and a half ago, and I love running the boardwalk in the winter, hoping not to twist an ankle. Like it's just so nice to be outside and get fresh air. But I'll say my pastime is driving the coast down. Like I will start northern Connecticut and just take a drive all the way down right before I hit a toll and turn around. And so that has been one of my favorite pastimes to do since I was young. My favorite spot on campus would have to be, well, Yale is notorious for courtyards, but I love a good courtyard at Yale. I could choose any of them, but my favorite is going to be a courtyard found in Sterling Memorial Library. It's such a peaceful place to work. It has a wonderful little fountain that keeps the nice noise in the background as I read files and eat my bagel. I
Oh, there
uh,
you go. Look at that. Okay.
I love a good lobster roll, but I will choose a bagel every day. And while I think New Haven has the best pizza, I will say that my favorite bagels are found in New York. So I'll give you all that.
I would agree. Being from Long Island myself, New York bagels are tops. Everything bagel for me would be my choice. Lots of bagel choices in the chat. So thanks you all for typing in your answers. But I do see a specific lobster roll response at a Cambridge local location there, Russell House Tavern. Melissa or Vi, have either of you been to Russell House Tavern?
Have been there, have not tried the lobster roll.
Same
All
here,
right.
but we'll
Okay.
have to.
There you go. So there's a
Yeah.
recommendation there.
Thanks for the
So
rec.
there you go. Awesome stuff. All right, cool. So that concludes our panel portion of the event. And thank the four of you for going through our fun questions here. We always just like to kind of, again, just show off that we can all answer these fun questions too, right? And you probably all just spoke for 60 seconds each at least. So to answer Melissa's video question there, to just kind of few fun facts about yourself in a short amount of time, like it can be done, right? So we're just showing you that it's okay to open up, put yourself out there and apply to these schools. But again, thanks to the four of you for going through today's session. We'll have you head over into the backstage just for a few moments while we prep the breakout rooms. All right, and attendees, hang out with me for one more second or so while we let our guests just kind of get a second to refresh, get a sip of water, rest their voices for a minute before they start to answer all of your questions. And again, I do think they did a fantastic job. And the Northeast is great. I am biased, being from Long Island, like I mentioned, which is in New York, and having gone to school in Connecticut and traveled a bunch up in the Northeast, it is a really good location and region of the country. So if you have not been there, definitely check it out. For ClearAdmit, tips and advice and tricks, stuff that I mentioned earlier in the session, we are an applicant resource website. So we have all kinds of things to help you through the application process. Events like this are just one of the many things that we offer to applicants as they're going through it. This time of the year, if you are waiting on interview invites, or if you're looking for your results from round one as they're coming through and you're kind of wondering when results will arrive or which schools release via phone call or email or portal, our Livewire tool is probably the best on the web to find this information out. It's live posts from current students going through the process, letting us know what their scores are, if they're getting in or not to the top schools. So definitely take a look at Livewire if you have not already, and definitely check through it as you get to those decision dates and timeframes because it gets really exciting. Other things that we offer students are tips on the interview process. So we have a full interview hub with all of our tips and tricks that we've compiled over the years, including our interview guides, our interview archives, which are actual real reports from MBA applicants who have done interviews at their schools. They come in, they let us know what the vibe of the interview was, what questions they were asked. And so that way you can help prepare for your interview in the future, and then hopefully you will then pay it forward to the next round of applicants, right? So a pretty cool feature that we offer on the site. We also do free profile reviews on our ApplyWire tool. There's no obligation to buy anything because we do not do consulting. So it is truly just to help you get a gauge on your background and which schools will fit you as an applicant. And if you can't find any of this stuff, we have our brand new AI assistant. You can ask it any question you would like about business schools, MBA programs, the admissions process, and we will pump out an answer for you within seconds. So the AI assistant's been an awesome tool for folks who have used our site. So if you have not done it yet, go check that out. It could be a really useful tool and partner in your application journey. So with that, we will open up the breakouts in one more second. If you are currently in this session via your web browser, you will not see the breakouts once I launch them. That is because you have to be utilizing a Zoom app to be able to see the breakouts. You can do the app on your desktop, on your laptop. You just have to download that app and log into the session through that app. You can also do it on your phone, tablet, mobile device. So take some time, 10 seconds, 20 seconds it takes to download an app maybe and jump into that. If you're already there, we're going to put the breakouts up in one more second here. Thank you all for coming to today's session. We have 3 more events in this series next week on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at the same time with 3 different regions and multiple schools in each region. Those regions are Texas, the West Coast or Western United States, and then the Great Lakes region, which we are including Toronto. So come back and check out those schools as well. And we hope to see you at a future event soon. Thanks so much.